So I mentioned you're in distribution and sales, and we'll go into your platform after this, but right now, the position I know you in best is that you are a liaison to, I'm not going to name names, I'm just going to say large buyers. Um, because I don't want to flood your inbox too much.
Sure.
But so how did you end up in that position?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So my first kind of exposure to it was with some music videos that I did. They had this one group in particular had some really good management,
Mhm.
and they were able to, through connections that they have, right, they were able to get in touch with the company. And I don't know if this company still exists. This is back 2014, 15, 16.
Mhm.
But the company that used to build, whatever was displaying on the Walmart TVs and the Target TVs and the Best Buy TVs, right? That was actually, at least back then, was something that was actually streamed, right? It was sent through a network to the
Mhm.
TVs. And they had been approached about getting the music videos basically licensed for that platform to be shown at Targets and Best Buys and stuff like that. And of course, they're musicians, they book tours, they record albums, they get that. And even their managers were like, look, I don't know what this is. And they turned to me, and I was like, yeah, let's I'll help you with this. I did a lot of negotiations when I was at the bank.
Mhm.
So I was like, yeah, sure, send it over. Let's look at the contract and let's figure it out, right? And so I learned a lot of trial by fire that way, because I didn't really know what the hell I was doing either. But that really opened my eyes to, like, whoa, do these things, like, because back when you're first starting out, you're thinking like, I got to get into theaters, or I got to get it on Netflix, or else I'm a failure, right?
Mhm.
And Amazon Prime was kind of coming into its heyday at that point too for
Mhm.
indie filmmakers, right? Like you could almost guarantee a pretty good return just getting it on Amazon VOD, right?
Yeah.
You could
Was that in the era before anybody could upload to Prime subscription
that
video on
was
demand SVOD?
that was right around the time it was getting started, because when I looked into it initially, you couldn't, but then you could.
Mhm.
Pretty right in that same time frame. So that really got, so just the fact that, wait, these music videos can monetize, but these other projects I've worked on can't. And so
Mhm.
that really got me to start just kind of sniffing around for kind of alternative distribution. And then I started working for this production company, and we did I guess it was a reality show. I would call it more of an educational show than a reality show. And then that was just something that was posted on YouTube, because it was just, it was paid for by this company, and they just wanted it as an educational resource. But we had some names in it. And so the Sportsman and the Outdoors channels came knocking to us, the production company, and said, we want to license this and put it on the air. We want to do a broadcast license. And fortunately, and I was the director and supervising producer on that shoot. My boss, the executive producer, had spent a lot of time in LA, right? He directed or produced, like, the very early Joe Rogan, Zach Galifianakis, those early Netflix specials.
Mhm.
He was one of the producers on those. So he, like, lit up when that happened. And he was like, oh, I can do this. And he kind of showed me the ropes on all that stuff.
Mhm.
And so we negotiated a few different deals there. And then, I just kind of took that and started looking at films. And then, of course, yeah, the Amazon VOD thing was
Mhm.
huge while it lasted. I mean, as you know, it takes a lot more marketing effort than it used to, right?
it takes a lot more marketing effort, and it's a lot harder to get anything on Prime subscription than it used to be. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And and so the company started because I and others were just getting really frustrated with you know the lack of options for smaller filmmakers, right? Because
Mhm.
it was like basically, oh well, you can do Bitmax, right? And nothing against their business model.
Mhm.
I think it works for certain people, just like all business models have their purpose, right? But that just so we kind of thought like there's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
And what forced us to start the company was we were, I produced a movie called The Reading, which brought Monique from Meet the Parkers, Monique Hicks.
Mm.
Um, and we knew that we were getting offers before we had even mildly come close to finishing the film, right? I
Mhm.
mean, once it was in production, like while we were on set, I'm getting emails from whoever, so and so, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And, I had been burned by distributors in the past. As a lot of people are, especially when you don't know what you're looking for,
Mhm.
right? And you get into a smaller film festival, and then all of a sudden a distributor approaches you. It's like, wow, I didn't think a distributor would be here, right? And you go to their website and they've got 300 films in your genre and you're like, wow. And you buy into it, right? You buy it and
Mhm.
you're like, this is so cool. I never thought this would happen. I thought I'd have to put it on YouTube or whatever, right? And you take it hook, line, and sinker, right?
Mhm.
And we it was already that was coming out of the woodwork, right? Like literally hours after that IMDb thing updated, because our production supervisor, flipped the switch, they start crawling out of the woodwork.
Mhm.
And we decided, you know what, we need to kind of formalize what we've just kind of been doing as producers, like
Mhm.
more like P&D, I guess, is what we were
Yeah.
doing. And we decided, let's formalize this. Let's formalize this and let's protect this project because we don't want to get roped into anything snaky. And through that process, and it has a lot to do with the fact that we have Monique in it, and Monique was kind of starting to pop back up in the media because of the Netflix situation and other
Mhm.
stuff, right? And so we were getting a lot of attraction to the project and so a lot of doors just kind of opened for us
Mhm.
because of that. And we were very, I don't like burning bridges, right?
Mhm.
And so as you have to be very kind of tactful when you're going through this process, especially as a new company,
Mhm.
especially the types of people we were meeting with, right? I mean, it's like getting thrown into the deep end with no floaties
Yeah.
on, because we never really had that kind of growth phase where we were having to go to markets and network and all
Mhm.
of this. I mean, it's not lost on me that we kind of got lucky, right? And
Mhm.
a lot of this business is luck, right? Like it's not,
Mhm.
it's when people say it's a lot about who you know, that's not a joke,
No, it's almost entirely about who you know, really. I mean, the fact that
Right.
you started with a film that had a big star at exactly the right time makes a gigantic difference uh in your ability to scale quickly and the level of distribution you're going to play at. Because the only way you can email a lot of these people is if you've already emailed them and already
Right.
talked to them, or if somebody they already know makes a warm introduction. That's about it.
Right.
And it's a and once you have that first bigger hit, it becomes significantly easier to try to get on there, which is part of how the traditional sales and distribution model soldiers on.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, and one other thing I just wanted to point out too is when you start getting to some of these organizations that are big, and
Mm-hmm.
you and I have kind of talked about this before, where you know, you and I may both have connections to the same platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to get wildly different answers, right? And one of us may not get an answer at all for
Mm-hmm.
the exact same thing, right? And so, especially when you start moving into having connections at larger platforms, it really becomes complicated, and every platform operates a little bit differently, right? Like some
Mm-hmm.
share a ton of information, right? So anybody in the film division and film acquisitions is going to know you're talking. Other companies are going to be like, if you're not talking to anybody else besides that one person may be the only person who knows you're talking to big streamer X, right? And
That's
if they
totally true. Yeah.
leave, which a lot of us experienced in 2020, 2021 with these massive restructures,
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of back to square one, right? You don't know anybody there anymore, and no one will answer your emails.
Yeah. No, we've all been subject to that at some point or another. But the good thing about people, just the amount people move around in the industry, is at least every once in a while you'll deal with somebody who you become relatively close with at a significantly smaller distributor, and then they'll take a decent position of power at the exact place you want to be. But they'll remember you if you treated them well, which is part of why you don't want to burn any bridges, and you don't always want to be a smartass when somebody's being a jerk.
Right.
That one took me a while to learn, but
Yes.